My name is Ty, and I have the wonderful Gabby with me. This is Weddings Made Perfect podcast. If you have any email suggestions or comments or concerns or anything like that, definitely email us at weddingsmadeperifictpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you want to check us out on YouTube, just type in Weddings Made Perfect Podcast and check out our MP4 if you want to check us out and watch us. If you don't want to watch us, just listen to us. Definitely do that. We're going to be on all sorts of platforms. Definitely, if you want a list of all of them, check out the link in the bio of the MP4 of us. So what is our sponsor today, Gabby?
Today, our sponsor is on the cup that you're drinking. And Events, St. Louis-based company that specializes in photography, videography, DJ and photo booth services, as well as officiant and event coordination services.
So they have literally everything you could do.
Literally everything.
So one-stop shop, guys. Definitely check them out. Super cool people. We actually work for them as well. So definitely, if you have a chance to research any events, I would definitely do that. I highly recommend doing that. We are very excited for your big day. And if you guys need any help, just call us and we can help you.
Yeah. You can find us at www.endevents.com, or you can email us at sales@endevents.com.
Yeah. Even if you don't book with us, definitely call us and just ask questions and stuff like that. But hopefully you do book with us, because that's the main thing.
That'd be great.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things. But yeah, episode 1, micro weddings. First off, on the top of my head, micro weddings, they're becoming very popular for terrible reasons, though. But at the same time, though, it is a thing that we just have to do. 2020, like I said, was a very bizarro, weird year. It's gone. It's over. But 2021, it's coming up. But the thing is sad to say, even though it's a new year, we still have, COVID-19 or coronavirus still in the amongst of us. We just did not go away just because we're in a new year, sadly. I wish it did, but sadly it's not. We are actually here in-house, so meaning like we are recording this, but Gabby and I both are very safe right now. We are social distance apart, also we get tested frequently. So yeah, other than that, this is a very safe environment for us to do this, so I just wanted to point that out. Not only that, but yeah, 2020 was a very weird year. We went from weddings where had 200 plus people all the way down to 50. We are in the Midwest. We are actually St. Louis based. So our restrictions back in 2020 was when it came out, a 6-week quarantine that we decided, or the city decided, that you were allowed to reopen weddings, but they had to be 50 people or less. Do we still have it that day or do we not? Which gained a lot of cancellations, a lot of movements, a lot of rescheduling and stuff like that, which made it very weird. But at the same time, though, we're all in it together and we stuck out and now we're here. But the thing is having 50 people, you tend to start realizing what you want, which 50 people or less is considered a micro wedding. We had several different micro weddings in general. So some were still at their actual venues where they're supposed to have them, but then others were like in backyards and stuff like that. The only problem is, though, is when you start going into more of the weddings that were actually in venues, especially downtown St. Louis. Not only you were only supposed to have 50 people or less, but you still had to follow the guidelines. So of social distancing, which is 6 feet apart. Mm-hmm. But not only that, but you had to also require a mask, which you should be doing to begin with. Mm-hmm. And then also stop the wedding right around 10:30, which is hard because a lot of reception venues in the area go till roughly midnight. Mm-hmm. So cutting off roughly 2 hours is insane to me, especially for the bride and grooms. I'm not married yet, but the thing is whenever I have the big day, for whenever that happens, I would want it to be a celebratory thing where I want to hang out and party with my family and friends, drink or do whatever, dance and have fun with the DJ or whatever, or a band or whatever we end up doing. Want to experience that enjoyment as long as I want. Yeah. But now you have a timeline until 10:30.
Yeah. So and restrictions.
Micro weddings, it used to be an intimate affair, typically with no more than 50 guests, like I said. normally time what you will do is it's just a smaller scale wedding, but it was more of like an elopement, or like you would go to a place, like for example, you go to a beach or go to, Hawaii.
Destination.
Yeah, just do whatever you want to do. Like it was more of an intimacy on that. But now because we have to, because of the restriction of COVID, it's just insane. It threw off the whole like wedding situation where now we have to, it's always in the back of our head. Like it's hard because like even now with especially at the end of the year, New Year's Eve, Christmas is probably one of the biggest years of engagements. But now people are wondering, when should we get married? Or if when we do get married, how we're going to do it? Like how big are we able to do it? Is COVID-19 or coronavirus, or how you want to call it, is it going to go away?
Yeah.
That's the question that we have. And so recently micro weddings have been getting trendier in a way. So,
and I think the crazy thing is that a lot of people have realized that I think they see a lot more pros in a micro wedding than they do the cons.
I see a lot of pros.
I see a lot of pros
I'm
as
just
well.
being honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
From going to, especially me shooting it, because I shoot films for weddings. I'm a videographer / cinematographer. Like I'm normally there on the weekends shooting somebody's wedding. For me to go from 200 people to now 50 or less, like it's kind of nice. Like there's not much people to worry about. I could get more family stuff if they need it or whatever. Like I'm not saying like the big weddings are not enjoyable. It's more intimate. It's more easier to just get the stuff that I need to get and be able to, give a great quality work to the bride and groom.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely insane. But I actually have some statistics, Etsy and also the Knot. They were saying that from June to July of 2020, searches involved small-scale ceremony spikes on the site. There was 67% increase in searches for courthouse and city halls wedding items, and 29% increase in search for the mini-monies, elopement weddings, and 10% increase in searches for elopement announcements. Then also wedding sites like the Knot found in May that 27% of couples were planning ceremonies just themselves or with smaller handfuls of families. There were situations that are happening in the nation. There's a big one is in Maine, doing secret weddings that had more than like 100 plus people. And the thing is there was a huge spike of people getting exposed to COVID-19 and they start spreading it because they all joined together and stuff like that. And so is this considered the new thing? Is this where wedding is going?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually found a different statistic from the Knot that said in 2019, a study showed that the average overall guest count was down while the average cost per guest actually went up. And this was 2019, before everything happened. So I kind of wonder if the industry was going this way without the global situation that we had going on. I know that obviously the biggest pro of a micro wedding is a smaller budget. I think a lot of people are asking themselves, what is necessary? What do I need to be spending? So I wonder if things were heading that way anyways.
So my thing is this, have you actually gone to a wedding as a guest?
Yes.
So when you went as a guest, what did you notice first? Like, what were the things when you left, you got into your car or Uber or cab or wherever, at the end of the day, you would go, man, blank was amazing. What are the first couple things you've like sticks out to you as a guest?
It's funny you say that. The last wedding I went to was at a gorgeous venue. So normally, and this was also a Sunday wedding, so it's kind of hard to play on that answer, but the venue is actually really pretty. So I think I'd say I noticed that more than anything else. Not the food, not the dancing, not any of that. It was actually the location that caught my eye.
The reason why I think those statistics from 2019, where there's less people but more pricing on like per guest or like just spending more money in general, is food and music. And the thing is normally the time, the first two topic is how the food is, how the music is. And then also definitely an open bar, which depending on the venue alone, they have different like pricings and different bundles and stuff like that, which
Sure.
I get. There's a lot of times where they have like a cocktail hour before the reception. So like it's around like an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours the latest with like some hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. But then once the reception starts, once the bride and grooms walk in the introduction, they sit down and they have dinner, they normally close the bar up for an hour. But then after that, then you have another 3-4 hours after that of it being open. So people literally will just talk about food, music, just drinks or open bar.
Yeah.
And I mean, on the top of my head, don't fully know full on prices, but the thing is I know average that if you're doing a served plate as opposed to a buffet, I know served plates are roughly, give or take, on vendors and venues and caterers and stuff like that, generally run between $35 to $75 a plate. And so like I get the statistics of that because I've definitely experienced it where there's less people, but the thing is I know that they've got it catered from wherever.
Right.
Or they, are focused on more things.
Sure.
So which actually meets the point of the cost. That's a great transition into that. I actually have an outline of how much an average wedding is and how much a micro wedding is. Of what I found, it says couples budget on average around $23,000 for their weddings, but end up spending around $30,000 increase of not budgeting it properly, or they end up realizing it's more expensive than what it actually is. And then micro weddings, depending on what you're doing for a micro wedding, is from $1,600, so $1,600 for an elopement or reception combination with 12 or fewer guests, to $10,000 for a full ceremony and reception with then 50 or fewer guests. Right there, you're already cutting the price in half.
Right.
Is that the new thing? I get it. Like, it's your big day, stuff like that. Is it worth spending $30,000?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what a lot of brides struggle to ask themselves is who to cut. That's basically your compromise there. The traditional manner of doing things that has been decades now is approximately 100 to 300 guests. And that's, grandma and grandma's friends and mom's aunt and all that business. And for the micro weddings, you have to ask yourself, how do I cut these people out? How do I tell them no? And I think that's what brides struggle with when they are asking themselves if a micro wedding is the right way to go.
It's not a family reunion, and that's what's hard
Yeah.
to say. And
Absolutely.
I hate saying that, but the thing is it is your guys' wedding day, and that's what it's hard because traditional weddings, it was just mainly family, and then you had maybe some close friends and stuff like that. Trying to make mom and pop all happy. You're trying to invite everybody, and great grand Susie and Uncle Jane and great Auntie Jane or whatever you want to say. I get it. They're important, but the thing is for the intimacy of your day, who's actually important on your day?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually read something that said a good way, if you are thinking about going the micro wedding route, to kind of, ask yourself whether or not this person should be invited, is to ask yourself, would you take this person out for $100 dinner, or would you have them over for the weekend?
That's actually a pretty good way to put it. I can name maybe 6 people. But the thing is those 6 people would probably be in my actual wedding as groomsmen of some sort.
In your bridal party, sure.
And that's what I'm trying to say is there's no other way to put that. People that are going to your wedding, people that have impacted your life, or people that have helped you out or supported you. Because the thing is it's a celebratory thing between the bride and groom.
It's a marriage, not a party.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody that's sitting here today, we thank you guys for being here.
Yeah.
It is an honor for you guys to be a part of our day.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. But the thing is for so long though, it was just so tradition of just having literally everybody.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna really go to Jerry who lives under you in
Right.
your apartment complex and go, hey man, I'm getting married next week.
Yeah.
Bring a +1.
Right.
See you there.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not happening.
No. And another thing kind of note on the micro wedding side is you have to think of it as quantity over quality. What can you do instead of inviting great Aunt Joan? Where can you put that, that money that you had saved up? You can instead maybe, get creative. You could have a live band instead of a DJ to make it, more something that you enjoy.
You get your photographer, videographers that you want. Like, you could get literally anybody. I fully agree. Like, you could put your money towards, I feel like, better things, which kind of leaves ways with the whole, because I want to stay in the whole cost range right now. It's the same thing with DIY. Like, that became super trendy. For like weddings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's people I know that literally created everything, like all their centerpieces or whatever. But the thing is they save so much money from that.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen expensive centerpieces.
Yeah.
It's weird. But the thing is flowers are not cheap.
Yeah.
And
they don't last.
they don't last.
Yeah.
Which is, why would you put, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, love florists. I'm not hitting anybody in a weird way, so please do not get offended by this. Like, I know some great florists and I love them all to death. I've seen centerpieces each were $10,000.
Yeah.
They had 50 tables. I've still seen centerpieces that have been created by the bride and groom and they were just beautiful.
Yeah.
And
way cheaper.
we could definitely go more in depth on a podcast later on about just DIYs.
Yeah.
Cutting your cost spending of doing things on your own is immaculate.
Yeah.
Do it. You're supposed to only get married once. Why don't you have fun with it? Have freedom with your wedding. I'm not pulling with the traditions. I'm not saying don't go for like a family tradition. If there's a family tradition that you guys done generations on and you want to do that, by all means, do it. That's a thing.
Yeah.
I get that. But the thing is it is, at the end of the day, your day.
Yeah. I feel like people tend to put themselves in a box almost, that traditional, my wedding has to have, Susie had her entire, all of her flowers were bought from the florist. Well, was that necessary? You could have flowers, you could just do your bouquets as real flowers and do everything else DIY. There are ways to cut those corners and make it so that, it doesn't have to be what we know as quote unquote a wedding. You know what I mean? It can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. Were you one of those people when you were little, got everything, like you like wrote in like a little binder or something that was like, I need this on my day and I need that on my
Let
day.
me tell you, we had paint and I used to copy paste things from Google Images and put them into a paint document. Yes, I did that. Don't make fun of me. Did you do it?
No. Like I said, I've been part of the wedding for about 10 years now. When I was, younger or whatever, like I never really thought of it because like I just never did. And it's not because I'm a guy or anything like that. It's just I just never did.
Yeah.
I think it started hitting my head around like 16 or 17 years old. I'm about to finish high school. What are my next steps? Okay. At the time, I was in a serious relationship. So questions were arised at that time, even though I was 16 and 17. There was moments where I'm just like, okay, I could see myself doing this, or I could see myself wearing this.
Yeah.
I even had it down to the point of there's a certain color that I would like. It only happened because I was in a relationship at that time. But when I turn 18 and I start to actually work in the industry, it completely changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I start seeing stuff until to this day, I'm just like, man, that is awesome. Like I'll put that in, like I'll jot it down. I'm just like, this is really cool. Here for Freedom, it's large traditional weddings can come with a whole host of formalities, expectations, and requirements, but micro weddings offer couples to freedom to think outside the box and the flexibility to use their creativity ideas. No tight schedules, no huge guest numbers, needed to be entertained or accommodated. No top table formalities, and with the options to make the day totally unique. No weddings comparison between friends. So basically, what in that little like just jot down over my notes, what I had is like instead of you comparing yourself with your friends or families that had recent weddings that were larger in a larger scale factor, now because we have to do it in more of a smaller scale and kind of reel it in a little bit, instead of you having to accommodate on your guests, why don't you focus on things that is more entertaining or more fun for yourself as a couple? And that's what it is like now you could literally do whatever you want. And I've seen, especially for 2020, for some weddings that I've done, some backyard weddings, you get to a point where you totally forget you're, behind somebody's house because they've had so many like cool different things.
Yeah.
And it's different decorations, different decor, different whatever you want to call them. Like they made it look special. They had a meaning. This is that what made them who they are as a couple. And that's what it is. At the end of the day, it's what you guys want.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you have guests. You could, there's some factors in with the whole accommodating their situations and like all that stuff. You want to thank your guest for coming because they had an impactful moment of your life, and that's why you invited them for your wedding. But at the same time, though, they're coming on your day. Yeah. Therefore, that like, yes, feeding them is obligated, but like for them to be there for so long, it's definitely
appreciated
that you're feeding them. Yeah. Or giving them some sort of entertainment of a DJ or a band or stuff like that. Bride or grooms are forgetting is that it's their day. Instead of the whole large scale, and now because of it's shrunk down to a smaller scale of 50 people or less, now you could put your mindset on other things.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. I think it's interesting when you cut down your quantity size to 50, that opens you up to less of the larger scale venues, and it gives you an opportunity to use maybe even a local place, which I know is super important, especially these days, to support local. I try to support local as much as I can. You could have it at your favorite bar. Maybe you met at a park, cafes, galleries, any place that can hold, under restrictions, can hold those, that smaller number for like a more intimate and creative kind of opportunity there for your reception.
And it personalizes it. One person does it at Windows in Washington, and then all of a sudden next week you're back at Windows in Washington, and then the week after that you're on Windows in Washington. There's a point where like I get it. It's a space, it's a venue. You create it the way that you want and stuff like that. But at the same time, though, you are limited though for your personality because they have restrictions on what you could bring in those venues. Yeah,
or the way you can set it up. There's always limitations.
But like, let's say you met at a coffee house or a coffee shop. You talk to the owner and go, hey, so you guys are very impactful. We met during open mic night and we kicked off. We started dated. Now we're engaged. We will love to have it here. Yeah. They're going to be super stoked that you want it there. But at the same time, though, it's now personalized. You are putting your end or your side of like, of that coffee shop going, hey, that you guys are so impactful for us. We want to have it here. And so like it's personalizing to your standards of what you want. Yeah. And so I feel like weddings should go that route. It goes back to the whole traditional thing, in which like I'm not dissing on tradition. Traditions are amazing. If there's something that's meaningful for you and your spouse or, soon to be husband or wife, you need to sit down and talk and figure out what you guys fully want. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much like, because the thing is once you have that, then you actually will be able to have whatever freedom to do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And that the whole goal is minimizing the amount of stress and minimizing the amount of restrictions. Because you're already dealing with restrictions with the whole coronavirus. Like you already have it where you had 150 people. Now you had to take 100 of those people out. So now you're only down to 50 people. So now it's like, okay, so I got my top 50 people. What else can I do? But it kind of goes through the whole freedom factor behind that, where you're just reducing the whole thing of large scale, bringing down to a smaller scale. But at the same time, accommodating not only your guests and all that good stuff, but at the same time, you decide what you want because already you're reducing down the numbers. You now have the chance to make it more of your day, which then kind of transitions to our next topic, to the big day nerves. There are multiple situations where immediately when you get engaged, not even like minutes after, your brain, your mindset starts kicking in where you start focusing on, okay, now we have to start planning. With an exception of like some military weddings where you have to do it for a certain date because you want to try to get it done before they leave for like basic training or maybe a deployment of some sort. Like that's a different exception, but normally time you should give yourself about 2, maybe 3 years for actual planning.
Yeah.
But recently though, it's normally about 6 months to a year out, which is the average right now, which it's fine. If you are naturally more introvert and the thought of a room full of hundreds of eyes on just you fills you with utter dread of anxiety, then a smaller micro wedding could certainly be the right choice. Many couples feel more at ease and are able to relax on their special day knowing just a handful of loved ones are celebrating with them. So basically, instead of having hundreds of people just staring at you, you now only have 50 people that are intimate with you. And that's what kind of goes back to the whole thing of, inviting Jerry that's living under you in your apartment complex.
Right.
Like, it's nice to have a lot of people there on your day. If you are not used to it, it's nerve-wracking.
Well, not to mention, even having those people, Jerry from downstairs, you might say 3 words to the guy on your wedding day, but if you only have 50 people there, you can really take the time to individually thank them, to have a conversation about their lives, to enjoy the day with them actually, and not just have, Jerry in the back, you barely saw him, he ate your dinner and drank your booze and left.
Yeah, exactly.
From
going to literally whoever's at your house in a quarantine factor to now able to go out, but safely, but able to go to a wedding, that could be nerve-wracking. Like going from literally just yourself to now hundreds of people staring at you, waiting for you to say, I do. Now you could kiss your bride or husband. Very nerve-wracking. And to some people, it may get anxious and anxiety through that. What it will do is it could limit the factor of that type of stress. And you can literally just focus on yourself with your significant other and not have to worry about so many people just staring at you. So
absolutely.
Quality time with your guests. Now there's a smaller gathering. You don't have to go through so many times. On the day, what people don't fully understand is there is a timeline. And so as a guest, you just know as you get invited, you may have a +1. Your little invitation may say, do you want chicken or beef or fish or some sort of vegetarian or vegan thing, depending on type of dietary thing is or whatever. All you have to do is focus on that, or there might be a buffet. But the thing is once you get there, you're going to the ceremony. You're watching for however long the ceremony is. After that ceremony is done, you have maybe an hour or two to get ready for the actual reception, or there's some places that are doing it in the same spot. So right after the ceremony, you'll go straight to the reception hall or venue, and you go to the cocktail hour, which then you have your time to socialize with the other guests for about like an hour and a half or so. And then after that, go straight from the introduction, and then the actual reception of you eating food, and then dance or whatever it is, depending on, because I know some traditions, some places don't allow you to dance. So like if it's karaoke or whatever, you do that and then you leave. But what people don't understand is you have timeline for like the photographers. So like, let's say you have a photographer and videographer, you have them only for a certain amount of time. So with that being said, there are things that they need to do with you before it ends.
Right.
If you have a large group of people or the couple alone will not be able to go through all their guests quick enough to literally see everybody and also get their timeline done unless it's built in.
Right.
Normally that stuff happens organically. Most of the time, you're not telling your photographers or videographers that you want to do that. You just start doing it on your own. So then, of course, the photographers and videographers don't know what's going on. But if you tell them at least, hey, we want to go to every single table and say hi to every single guest, then they'll know exactly. Then they'll follow you and might, record it or film it or shoot it, whatever they might do. But if you don't tell them and you just do it organically, which honestly is the best way to do it, is just organically saying hi to your guests because you invited them on your day.
Right.
And you want to talk to everybody at least once on your day.
Yeah.
If you have 200 guests, that's not a 15-minute project. That's an hour long or an hour and a half time. So you're killing majority of your reception time just talking to your guest. And which goes back to what I said originally with this, it's not a family reunion. It's a celebratory on your day of the special day. And don't get me wrong, you would love to see everybody at least once. Reducing those numbers down, you have a tendency of being able to see everybody at least once without having to destroy your timeline.
Yeah.
And so going to the micro wedding or elopement or whatever and having it more of an intimacy feel, you're actually able to see everybody like you want.
And I think there was an advantage almost to this past crazy year we've had. I would say that, at least for myself, I truly know who my people are, who were most important in this last year. And I think that can really help, people ask, brides to ask themselves that question, brides and grooms to ask themselves that question, who is necessary? Who was there for me? Who do I need? Who do I need there with me on that day? Yeah.
And a micro wedding allows you to be surrounded by the people you love and give you the space to enjoy each other in this exciting time. Basically meaning when you have a smaller number, that you have a tendency of, for the people that you just vibe with more or just experience more enjoyment, the thing is they know when to kind of turn on and turn off the whole socializing of just you, instead of having the typical aunt or uncle or maybe a friend who codependent on your attention towards them. It kind of takes away the whole factor of your day. And you have people that are closer or more intermediate family. They know those type of space structure. They understand okay, they're going to talk to this person, and they're going to talk to this person, they're going to talk to me. And then that's all they want. Yeah. It's just that little moment, and that's it. And so it's reducing that factor behind it.
Yeah. Another thing I did notice on this note is some brides struggle with knowing whether to include plus ones to increase their numbers or not. And something that I did note was that reconsidering this would probably be best, more because if you're inviting a strict 50 people that are your closest buds, the odds are they probably know other people at that reception and they don't need a plus one. They already know somebody in your tight-knit group and they won't be hurt. They don't need it. They don't need somebody there, So I would hesitate maybe on inviting those plus ones too.
It honestly reduces the price too of the wedding. And I've actually been invited to a wedding before where they were like, you cannot bring a plus one. Yeah. And this is way before COVID hit or anything like that. It was just because they wanted more of an intimacy, the more just smaller base micro wedding feel. I thought it was weird, but at the same time though, I was younger, so I didn't understand it at the time. Yeah. But now I get it where
if you let every person have a plus one, then suddenly you might be doubling your price, doubling your quantity of people. It's just insane.
Anybody that had an impactful part of their life or just close to them or had some sort of situation to just be there and nobody else, because it kind of also breaks that whole barrier in eyes of the whole having to deal with plus ones where they don't know really anybody and it's weird this is this person for X, Y, and Z. And
absolutely.
And I'm not saying you don't need to have a plus one or you should cancel it out completely. Sadly I don't get as much invites because I'm normally working a wedding. So like my weekends are normally full, but all the weddings I have gone, luckily had a +1. There's multiple weddings that I've gone though that I was the +1 and I didn't know anybody
Right.
except for that person.
Right.
And it's weird. It's weird being that +1. So like seeing kind of the perspective of that person, it's kind of nerve-wracking for them too to kind of get used to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just suggest, if you're on the fence about it and you feel guilty maybe that you're not letting, cousin Larry bring a +1, I wouldn't. Cousin Larry is a cousin. There are other family members there and he will be just fine without a +1.
So limiting the list of invites. So basically what we've been saying, you want to limit the invites with your immediate family and of course your closer friends. You want people there that are going to want to experience the same way. People who are not really like close to you don't really care. They're going to be there for just the food.
Yep.
They're going to be there for the drinks. They're going to dip out. That's literally what's going to happen. And they're not going to be there for any reasonings. You want people there to, make you smile or you make them smile. They shed a tear with you on that day. Like they understand what is going on. They know that this is meaningful. When you get an invite, it should be an honor. Anyways, you should be only inviting people that you think are important in your life. There is nobody telling you at the end of the day who you should invite. For micro weddings, it gives you more flexibility than an actual larger day. And this kind of comes back to the whole timeline that I was talking about with the huge group of people, especially with, like I said, when you have 200 plus guests and you want to see everybody at least once, you're going to eat up a lot of time. Well, because when you do a micro wedding, you now have the time or a little bit more flexibility to be able to see people or do whatever you want. So like maybe you want to do fireworks or like a sparkling exit where like you're leaving the day with sparklers and you're going into the limousine and whatever. There's a lot of times where I've done weddings where they do like a sparkler exit, but we have to do it super early because they want to do that right when they leave,
right?
Which is around 11 to midnight. But the thing is, they only schedule us until 9:30. Hey guys, like, don't get me wrong. Love being with you guys all day, but you guys only have me scheduled for 9:30. Unless you extend me up until midnight, I need to get this done.
Yeah.
So what do you think about micro weddings? To kind of just recap, just kind of do a nice little closure on this episode. Like, do you think micro weddings are going to be still a trend? Is it like 5-10 years down the road? Is it still going to be a thing? With an exception, I understand elopement is considered micro weddings. The situation that we're dealing with now with the whole COVID-19 and stuff like that, do you think this is still going to be a new? And is it the trend now? Is this it? Is this what wedding is going to be now?
I think yes. So I know Stylist and Harper's Bazaar actually mentioned that this is going to be a 2021 trend. It's a chic excuse to go non-traditional. I think people our age, the millennials that are coming up and getting married, have been looking for an excuse to kind of shy away from expensive, extravagant, unnecessary weddings. I think taking a look, especially with this past year we have, at who really matters, what's really important, and the best way to spend your budget. There's almost no cons to this, just honestly.
Cutting out the fat. Like,
yes,
just,
exactly.
You want the meat. You want the meat.
Yes.
With potatoes. You're like, it's just, that's what it is. Well, first off, if we want something, we'll get it. But not only that, but like, it's just one of those things where I fully understand. Like, I am with you on this. I am in the boat. This is going to be the quote unquote tradition.
Yeah.
This is going to be the new thing.
Yeah.
We are cutting out the fat, what we don't need. We are going to literally see a lot of more micro weddings, and it's going to be the new weddings. And that's just how it's going to be.
Yep.
I don't think, with an exception, of course, like I said, with very traditional families and very traditional backgrounds, and then some religions and stuff like that and beliefs, totally get that. But I just feel like 5-10 years down the road, an actual wedding is going to be the new, small, intimate 50, maybe 80 people.
Yeah.
Less than 100 at
Yeah.
least. Once again, guys, my name is Ty and I have Gabby with me here, and we are Weddings Made Perfect podcast. Email us at weddingsmadeperiftpodcast@gmail.com. You could also watch us on YouTube. Just type in Weddings Made Perfect podcast. It's going to pop up. If you don't want to see us, I totally get it. It's kind of boring watching one video for about an hour long. But if you want to listen to us in your car and stuff like that, we're going to be on platforms. We're going to be on Anchor.fm. We're also going to be going on different sites as well. Google Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. We're going to be everywhere. If you have any comments or concerns, or just want to comment going, hey, you guys are awesome, or hey, you guys suck, just definitely email us or comment on our videos or Instagram or Facebook page. And we'll definitely gladly comment back or do whatever. If you have any recommendations on any upcoming podcasts or episodes that you would like to hear, if there's something that you heard in our little tangent today and you say, hey, I want to hear more about whatever, definitely let us know and we'll make an episode about it. If you are getting married, let us know. We'll give you a congratulations. We want to start throwing in more segments on congratulations and email suggestions. So we'll email suggestions as meaning comments or whatever, or like different ideas, any tips or whatever, which by the way, we'll do our first tip. Do you actually have a tip for me?
I do have a tip for you.
Oh, let me hear it.
For a day of tip, I would suggest giving your phone to your maid of honor. Or if you're a groom, giving your phone to your groom of honor or best man. I think a lot of people get caught up maybe and they'll be getting texts. So happy wedding day. I can't believe it's here. Do you need something? Can I do this? Blah, 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 blah. It's not about that. You're going to have this day is going to fly by faster than you can blink. There is no need to have your phone. There's no need to take pictures. You hired somebody for that. No need to take videos. You also hired somebody. You hired Tyler for that. So think about getting rid of all your electronics on your day of and just focusing on what's really important. And that is the marriage you just are about to do.
That's awesome. Very important to do because there's multiple times where they will give us the wrong address to go somewhere and they didn't give us a phone number to call.
Oh.
Or if they did give us a phone number, it is the bride and groom's number and it's disconnected or the phone's off or they don't have it because of situations. So definitely give it to your major of honor or best man or whoever to at least have some sort of connections with your vendors because they will definitely be calling you if they get lost because this happened multiple times. But definitely great. Also, our episode today is sponsored by Indie Events. Gabby could go on with that.
Yeah, you can find us at indieevents.com. You can email myself at sales@indieevents.com if you're interested in some services. Again, we specialize in photography, videography, DJ, photo booth, event coordination, officiation. We got it all.
Awesome. And once again, this is Weddings Made Perfect podcast. This is Ty Gabby, and we're signing out.